Stop scrolling. Before the next 7 days pass, something unexpected is going to show up in your life, and if you're not prepared, you could either miss it or mishandle it. This isn't random, and it's not just another message to entertain you. You felt pulled to this moment for a reason, because deep down, something has been shifting around you. Doors feel like they're about to open, energy feels different, and there's a sense that something is coming, but you don't fully understand what it is yet. Listen carefully. Not every opportunity is a blessing, and not every offer is meant for you. Some are tests, some are distractions, and some are exactly what you've been waiting for. The difference is in how you recognize them. If you leave now, you might walk straight into a situation that looks right, but leads you into a trap. But if you stay, if you truly listen, you're going to gain the clarity you need to recognize what's real, what's fake, and what's truly aligned with your path. Because within the next 7 days, something will present itself, and how you respond will matter more than you think. Stop scrolling. Before the next 7 days unfold, something unexpected is already moving toward your life, whether you are aware of it or not. And the truth is, you are not hearing this message by accident. There is a reason your attention stopped here, a reason your mind didn't just move past it like everything else you usually see online. Something inside you already senses a shift coming. You may not have full clarity yet, but you can feel it, like a quiet pressure in the background of your thoughts, like timing is changing, like something is about to enter your world that you didn't plan for, didn't predict, and didn't prepare for in detail. That is exactly why this moment matters. Because what arrives in the next 7 days may not come with warning signs or obvious labels. It may come disguised as opportunity, as connection, as timing, or even as a second chance that looks surprisingly aligned with something you once wanted. But not everything that arrives suddenly is meant to stay, and not everything that feels exciting is actually safe for your direction. You need to understand this clearly. Life does not always announce tests in advance. Sometimes the test looks like a blessing at first glance. Sometimes it looks like progress, growth, or even relief from what you've been dealing with. And in that moment, if you are not grounded, you can easily confuse movement with meaning. The mind wants speed, but awareness requires patience. The emotion wants yes, but wisdom asks you to pause. What's coming toward you may trigger that exact internal conflict. It may feel like something you should not miss, something that won't come again, something that requires immediate response. But real alignment does not pressure your clarity. It does not rush your decision-making. It does not require you to ignore your intuition in order to accept it. If you feel confusion mixed with excitement, if you feel pressure mixed with curiosity, if you feel doubt hiding behind urgency, then you are not just receiving an opportunity, you are being asked to observe it more deeply before you commit to it. This is where most people lose their direction, not because they lack intelligence, but because they ignore their internal signals in favor of external excitement. And that is exactly how traps form, not through obvious danger, but through subtle misalignment that is easy to overlook when emotions are activated. In the next few days, you may notice situations that feel like answers to past questions, doors that seem to open at the right time, or people reappearing in ways that feel meaningful. But your responsibility is not to react immediately. Your responsibility is to recognize that timing alone does not guarantee truth. Just because something arrives when you are thinking about change does not mean it is meant to guide your change in the right direction. You are being positioned in a moment where awareness matters more than speed, and clarity matters more than excitement. And if you can hold yourself steady in that moment, you will begin to see what is real beneath the surface and what is simply appearing to test your focus before your next step unfolds. You didn't imagine that sense of something shifting around you, because change rarely arrives loudly. It builds quietly until one day you realize nothing feels exactly the same anymore. Over the next few days, you may notice unexpected communication, sudden invitations, new ideas or even old connections resurfacing as if they were never gone. At first glance, it will feel like coincidence, like timing aligning in your favor, like life is finally responding to things you once hoped for. But not every timing is confirmation, and not every opportunity is clarity. Some moments are designed to look like progress while secretly testing your ability to recognize what truly belongs in your life. The unexpected offer that may appear will not come with a clear label saying, "This is safe," or "This is not for you." It will come disguised in emotion, possibility, and urgency. It may feel like something you've been waiting for, something that finally answers an old desire or solves a current uncertainty. And that emotional familiarity is exactly what makes it powerful. But you must remember, just because something feels right at first does not mean it is aligned with your long-term direction. Sometimes the universe presents you with situations not to give you answers, but to reveal how you respond when pressure meets opportunity. You may feel a pull to act quickly, to secure the moment before it disappears, to say yes before thinking too deeply, because the mind fears missing out more than it fears making the wrong decision. But real wisdom slows everything down. It observes instead of reacts. It questions instead of assumes. It listens to what is not being said as much as what is being offered. The danger is not always in the opportunity itself, but in how easily it can distract you from your own clarity. If you find yourself over-explaining why something feels right, or convincing yourself more than you feel naturally certain, that is not alignment. That is negotiation with uncertainty. And uncertainty should never be the foundation of a major decision. What's coming in the next 7 days is not just about what appears in front of you, but about what it activates within you. It will reveal whether you are still reacting from hope, fear, or pressure, or whether you have reached a level where you can pause, reflect, and choose without being emotionally pulled off balance. This is not about rejecting opportunities, it is about recognizing which ones respect your peace and which ones require you to abandon it in order to accept them. Because anything that truly belongs in your life will never require you to lose yourself to receive it. Not every opportunity that enters your life is designed to elevate you. Some are designed to reveal you. And in the coming days, you may be confronted with something that looks like progress, but carries hidden pressure within it. It might come with excitement, urgency, or even a sense of validation, as if life is finally responding to your efforts or your patience. But you must understand something very clearly. Anything that requires you to abandon your inner peace in order to accept it is already misaligned with your path. The most dangerous situations are not the ones that clearly look harmful. They are the ones that look beneficial at first glance, but slowly begin to shift your clarity once you step closer to them. You may feel an instant attraction to what is offered, because it might resemble something you once prayed for, something you once hoped would arrive at the right time. And that emotional connection to past desires is what can cloud present judgment. But growth demands more than emotional recognition. It demands awareness of consequence. If an opportunity is real and meant for you, it will not force confusion. It will not create inner conflict between your intuition and your desire. Instead, it will bring a sense of calm clarity, even if it challenges you. But if you find yourself explaining it to yourself repeatedly, justifying it internally, or trying to convince yourself that it is right while a part of you feels unsettled, that is not alignment. That is internal negotiation with uncertainty. And uncertainty is not a foundation you should build decisions on. The next 7 days will test your ability to slow down when everything around you encourages speed. You may feel like you need to respond quickly, decide quickly, or act before the moment disappears. But what is truly meant for you will not vanish because you took a moment to think. Only what relies on urgency instead of truth needs you to rush. And that is exactly where many people fall into traps, not because they lack intelligence, but because they mistake pressure for opportunity. You are being asked to observe more than react, to feel more than assume, and to listen to the part of you that notices what words cannot explain. Because beneath every offer is intention, and beneath every intention is direction. And your task is not to chase every direction that appears, but to recognize which one aligns with your peace, your growth, and your long-term stability. The moment you begin to choose from clarity instead of emotion, you stop walking into traps disguised as chances, and you start walking into decisions that actually respect your future self. Warnings rarely arrive in the form people expect. They don't always come as loud disruptions or obvious red flags. More often, they appear as subtle discomfort, repeated patterns, and quiet moments where something inside you says, pause, even when everything on the surface looks acceptable. Over the next 7 days, you may find yourself in situations that feel strangely familiar, like you've been here before in different forms, with different people, but the same underlying energy. That familiarity can be misleading, because the mind often confuses what is known with what is safe. But not everything familiar is meant to be repeated, and not everything that feels comfortable is aligned with your growth. You might notice offers or conversations that seem to answer questions you've had for a long time. At first, it may feel like clarity arriving at the perfect moment, like life is finally responding to your persistence or patience. But true clarity never arrives wrapped in confusion. If something requires you to ignore your inner hesitation in order to accept it, then that hesitation is not something to silence. It is something to understand. The mind will often try to rationalize what the heart is uncertain about, especially when desire, hope, or timing is involved. It will say things like, "This is your chance," or "Don't miss it," or "This might not come again." But urgency is not always truth. Sometimes urgency is just pressure in disguise, designed to override your natural ability to reflect. And when reflection is removed, decisions become reactions instead of choices. That is where people step into traps without even realizing it, not because they were careless, but because they were rushed out of their own awareness. In the coming days, your awareness will be your strongest protection. You may need to look beyond what is being said and observe what is being felt. Does it bring calm, or does it create internal conflict? Does it expand your clarity or fragment it? Does it allow you to remain grounded in who you are, or does it subtly pull you into uncertainty? These questions matter more than the offer itself, because anything truly meant for you will not require you to abandon your inner stability to receive it. And anything that repeatedly challenges your peace is not asking to be chosen, it is asking to be recognized for what it is. This period is not just about what comes to you, but about how clearly you can see it when it arrives. And that clarity will determine whether you step forward with confidence or step back with protection. You've spent enough time learning what it feels like to stay in situations that slowly drain you, while still convincing yourself that patience will eventually turn things around. But the truth you are being pushed to recognize now is that not everything improves with time, and not everything deserves another chance just because it appeared at the right moment. Over the next 7 days, what comes toward you may test this understanding more than anything you've experienced recently. You might feel drawn toward something that appears promising, something that speaks to your past desires or unresolved expectations. And that emotional connection can be powerful because it feels like alignment. It feels like, finally. But feelings alone are not enough to define direction. Sometimes the strongest pull comes from the weakest foundation, and what feels emotionally satisfying in the moment may not support your long-term peace. This is where discernment becomes essential. You are not being asked to reject everything that comes your way, but you are being asked to stop ignoring yourself in the process of accepting it. There is a difference between opportunity and obligation disguised as opportunity. One expands your clarity, the other slowly replaces it. And the difference is often subtle at first, only becoming obvious after you've already stepped too far into it. You may notice yourself rationalizing things more than you feel them, explaining away discomfort instead of listening to it, or focusing on potential while ignoring present reality. That is how misalignment builds, not suddenly but gradually, through repeated compromises of your inner voice. And the longer you override your intuition, the quieter it becomes, until you start relying more on external validation than internal truth. But this moment is different because you are becoming aware of that pattern while it is still forming, not after it has fully taken shape. That awareness gives you power. It allows you to pause before you commit, to observe before you attach, and to choose based on clarity rather than emotional pressure. What is coming toward you does not need immediate acceptance. Anything real will remain real even after reflection. Anything aligned will not disappear because you took time to think. And anything that tries to rush your decision is revealing its dependence on urgency, not truth. This is your opportunity to break the cycle of reacting first and understanding later. To step into a space where your decisions are not driven by fear of missing out, but by confidence in your own perception. Because once you start trusting what you feel without needing constant external confirmation, you stop walking into situations that look right, but slowly pull you away from who you are becoming. What is coming next is not just about an external opportunity. It is about your internal transformation in how you respond to life itself. Over the next 7 days, you will begin to notice that your awareness is sharper, your reactions are slower, and your tolerance for confusion is lower than before. That is not hesitation, that is growth. You are reaching a point where your mind is no longer willing to accept what your intuition quietly rejects. And that shift is powerful, because it changes how every opportunity, conversation, and decision will be processed within you. You will no longer feel the need to immediately say yes just because something looks appealing or feels urgent. Instead, you will begin to observe first, question second, and decide last. And that order alone can completely change the direction of your life. Because most traps are not entered through ignorance, they are entered through speed. The faster you react, the less space you give yourself to recognize misalignment. But when you slow down, clarity begins to surface naturally. In the coming days, situations may arise that try to pull you into emotional decision-making. You may feel moments of pressure, excitement, or even fear of missing out. But these emotions are not instructions. They are signals that require interpretation, not obedience. The real strength now lies in your ability to pause inside those moments, to separate what feels urgent from what is actually important. And as you do this more consistently, something will shift within you. You will stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you are actively choosing your direction instead of being pulled by circumstances. That is the beginning of control, not over everything around you, but over how you respond to it. And in that control, confusion loses its power. You will begin to see that not every opening is meant to be walked through, not every message is meant to be answered immediately, and not every offer deserves your attention just because it appears in your timing. Some things are simply passing through your awareness to test whether you still react from old patterns or whether you now operate from clarity. And the more you honor that clarity, the less you will find yourself in situations that require recovery later. You stop learning lessons through regret and start learning through recognition. And that is where real protection begins, not in avoiding life, but in understanding it deeply enough that nothing can pull you away from your own truth anymore. Everything you've heard in this message was not meant to create fear. It was meant to create awareness, because awareness is what separates confusion from clarity and reaction from real decision-making. Over the next 7 days, life may present you with something that looks meaningful, timely, or even perfect on the surface. But what you now understand is that timing alone is never enough to judge truth. You've been reminded that not every opportunity is aligned, not every offer is safe, and not every emotional pull is a sign to move forward. Some things arrive simply to reveal how you respond when pressure meets possibility. And now, the real shift is not in what comes to you, but in how you see it. You are no longer the same person who would ignore inner hesitation just to avoid missing out. You are becoming someone who listens before reacting, observes before committing, and values peace over urgency. That alone will change the direction of your decisions in ways you may not fully realize yet. Because once clarity becomes your standard, confusion can no longer guide your choices. So when the unexpected offer appears, because it will appear, you will not meet it with blind excitement or silent fear. You will meet it with awareness. You will pause. You will observe. And you will choose from a place that does not require you to abandon yourself in order to say yes. That is the real protection this message was pointing you toward. As you move forward, remember this. Anything that is truly meant for you will not require you to rush, doubt yourself, or override your intuition. It will stand steady even when you take your time. And anything that depends on your urgency is already revealing its weakness. So let this be your closing truth. Not everything that arrives is meant to stay, but everything you now recognize clearly can no longer control you.